Hello students, welcome to zoology class. Today in continuation to my presentations on insects and human welfare, this is the second presentation and this presentation is on silk. So what is silk? Silk is nature's gift to mankind and a commercial fiber of animal origin other than wool. Being eco-friendly, biodegradable and self-sustaining material, silk has assumed special relevance in the present age. And sericulture, that is the rearing of the silkworm for production of the silk, it is an agro-based industry, and the term sericulture, it denotes commercial production of silk through silkworm rearing. So it, I mean to say that silk is nature's gift. So silk is produced from the silk insect or the silkworm, and other than wool, this is the nature's gift. And silk is eco-friendly, it is biodegradable and self-sustaining material, and it has very much importance in present age. And the rearing of the silkworm for the production of the silk, it is known as sericulture. And historical evidence reveals that sericulture was practiced in China long back, and they preserved the secret for more than 3000 years and maintained monopoly in silk trade with the rest of the world. So the production of the silk from the silkworm, it was known to China about 3000 years back, but they kept it secret and they maintained the monopoly of the silk trade only to their country. So, according to Western historians, mulberry cultivation spread to India about 140 BC from China through Tibet. So, in India, this sericulture or the mulberry cultivation, it came through Tibet from China, and the silk from China and India were carried to European countries. Then from India and China, silk reached to European countries. And the 7,000-mile lengthy road, and historically which is known as a Silk Road, passing through Baghdad, Tashkent, Damascus and Istanbul, this route was used for the silk transport. And today more than 29 countries in the world are practicing sericulture and producing different types of the silk, and India stands second in silk production next to China. So China is number 1 in the production of the silk and India is number 2 in this trade of sericulture. So for sericulture, there are different types of silkworm which produce different types of silk. So one species of silk moth or the silkworm, that is the Bombyx mori, and from this Bombyx mori, in Indian states like Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, silk is produced, and the preferred leaves of Bombyx mori are the mulberry leaves, and the silk which is produced, that is known as the mulberry silk. Then second species is the Anthidia assamensis, and this silk is produced in the states like Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur. And this silkworm, it feeds on the champa plant and the silk sogar, that is known as the muga silk. And the third species is Antheria milita. So this earthworm is this silkworm is reared in states like West Bengal, Bihar and Jharkhand, and the leaves of Arjun tree are preferred by this silk moth, and the silk so god is known as the tussar silk. And the next species of silkworm is the Attacus risni. So this is used in Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur, and castor tree leaves are preferred by this silkworm, and the silk so got is known as the airy silk. So these are the different types of silkworm which produce silk in India. So these are the diagrams of different types of the worms which produce different types of the silk. So this is the mulberry. This is a mulberry worm which produces a mulberry silk. This worm produces a airy silk. This worm produces a tussar silk, and this produces the muga silk. So these are the different types of the silkworm producing different types of the silk. So now I will talk about the life cycle of the Bombyx mori. So most of the sericulture is done on the silkworm on the species Bombyx mori. So we will shall study the life cycle of Bombyx mori. So the adult of Bombyx mori, it is about 2.5 centimeter in length and pale creamy white in color, and due to heavy body and feeble wings, flight is not possible by the female moth, and this moth is unisexual in nature and does not feed during its very short life period of 2 to 3 days. Just after emergence, male moth copulates with female for about 2 to 3 hours, and if not separated, they may die after few hours of copulating with female. And just after copulation, female starts egg laying, which is completed in 1 to 24 hours. It means that after the copulation, male moth dies and female it starts laying eggs in about 1 to 24 hours, and single female moth it lays about 400 to 500 eggs depending upon the climatic conditions. And two types of eggs are generally found. They are namely diapause type and non-diapause type. The diapause type of eggs are laid by silkworms which inhabit in the temperate regions, and the silkworms belonging to subtropical regions like India, they lay non-diapause type of the eggs, and the eggs after 10 days of incubation they hatch into larva which is known as the caterpillar. So the larva of the silk moth is known as the caterpillar, and the newly hatched caterpillar it is about 3 millimeter in length and it is pale yellowish white in color, and the caterpillars are provided with well developed mandibulate type of mouth parts adapted to feed easily on the mulberry trees. So the Bombyx mori it feeds on the mulberry leaves, and two types of eggs are laid by the silk moth. One is diapause and other is the non-diapause. And in India, the eggs are of non-diapause type. And the larva of the Bombyx mori or the silk moth is known as the caterpillar. And caterpillar has well-developed type of the mouth parts to feed easily on the mulberry leaves. Now, after first, second, third and fourth moltings of the caterpillar, it gets transformed into second, third, fourth instars respectively. It means it undergoes metamorphosis, it undergoes molting, and it forms the second instar, third instar, fourth instar and fifth type of the larva respectively. and it takes about 21 to 25 days after hatching. So complete molting takes place up to in 25 days, and the fully grown caterpillar, it is about 7 to 5 centimeter in length. It develops salivary glands, then it stops feeding and undergoes pupation. So pupa is formed from the caterpillar. So the caterpillars stop feeding and move towards the corner among the leaves and secretes a sticky fluid through their silk gland. So after the caterpillar, it is fully grown, it develops its salivary glands, then it stops feeding and then it forms pupa, that is the pupation undergoes. Then caterpillar stops feeding and then excretion, which is very sticky fluid, it starts coming out through the silk gland of the pupa, and the secreted fluid comes out through a spinneret, a narrow pore situated on the hypopharynx, and it takes the form of the long thread fine of silk, fine thread of silk, which hardens on exposure to air, and it is wrapped around the body of the caterpillar in the form of the covering, and then it is known as the cocoon. It is a white colored bed of pupa whose outer threads are irregular while the inner threads are regular, and the length of the continued thread secreted by the caterpillar for the formation of the cocoon, it is about 1000 to 1200 meters, which requires 3 days to complete, and the pupal period, it lasts for 10 to 12 days, and the pupae cut through the cocoon and emerge into adult moth. So after the secreted fluid, it comes out, it comes out through the spinneret, that is a narrow pore on the hypopharynx, and it comes in the form of the long fine thread of the silk, and this long fine thread of silk is wrapped around the body of the caterpillar, and the structure so formed, it is known as the cocoon, and the length of this thread is about 1000 to 1200 meters, and it required 3 days to formed cocoon, and the pupal period lasts for 10 to 12 days. Then pupa is cut open through the cocoon, and it emerges and it forms the adult silk moth. So this is the life cycle of the Bombyx mori. Then on the basis of the molds which they undergo during their larval life, Bombyx mori is divided into 3 races. They can be trimolters, tetramolters or pentamolters. It means if they molt 3 times, they are called as a trimolters. If they molt 4 times, they are known as tetramolters, and if they molt 5 times, they are known as the pentamolters. And based on the volatilism, that is the number of broods or number of generations raised per year, 3 kinds of races are recognized in this Bombyx mori. That is the univolatiles, only 1 generation and 1 brood only in 1 year, and bivolatiles, it has 2 broods, and multivolatiles have more than 2 broods per year. So this is the classification of the Bombyx mori. Then this is the diagram showing the life cycle of the Bombyx mori, that these are the eggs. Eggs, they hatch into the larva. So this is newly hatched caterpillar. So this is after first molting, that is the first instar. Then this is the second instar after third molding. It is the third instar, then fourth instar, then fifth instar. Then the silk is wrapped around the body. So this forms the cocoon, and then cocoon is cut open, and then the pupa comes out and it molds into the adult moth, and then male and female moths, they undergo fertilization or mating, and then eggs are laid by the female, and again this cycle goes on. So this is the diagram which shows clearly the life cycle of the Bombyx mold. Next comes the sericulture. So we have studied the life cycle in nature, and now we come to the sericulture. So now you know that the production of silk from the silkworm by rearing practices on a commercial scale is known as the sericulture, and it is an agro-based industry, and it has three main components. One is the cultivation of food plants for the silkworms, then rearing of the silkworm, then reeling and spinning of the silk. And the first two are agriculture steps, and the last one is the industrial component. Only few species of silkworms are used in the sericulture industry. So first two steps, that is the cultivation of food plants and rearing of silkworms, these are the agricultural practices. And the third one is industrial practice, because in industry the silk is reeled and spinned. So this is the industrial point. So we have to discuss all the 3 points one by one. Number one is cultivation of food plants for the silkworm. So to start the sericulture, first component is the cultivation of food plants for the silkworms. And to grow the food plants for the silkworms, mulberry leaves are widely used as food for the Bombyx mori species of silkworm, and cultivation of mulberry is called as the moriculture. When the food plants or the mulberry plants are grown for the silkworms, that cultivation is known as the moriculture. Presently, improved mulberry varieties like Victory 1, S36, G2 and G4, these are the varieties of the mulberry which can withstand various agro-climatic and soil conditions. They are used for the sericulture, and the favorable season for the cultivating of the mulberry plant is June, July, November and December. And the mulberry crop production technology includes, first of all, land is prepared, that is land preparation, then preparation of the cutting, planting techniques, then maintenance of the mulberry nursery, then disease and pest management has to be done of these plants, then uprooting the raising new mulberry gardens, then new mulberry garden production is also done in this step. And the mulberry is also being grown as tree plant at an height of 123 to 152 centimeters with 20 by 20 centimeters by 25 or 25 centimeters spacing to harvest better silkworm cocoon crop. So these are the dimensions that how the plants for the silkworm are grown for the better harvest of the cocoons. Then next point is the rearing of the silkworms. Once the plants are ready, then there is the second point, that is the rearing of the silkworm. And in this, a typical rearing house, that is the 6 meter into 4 meter into 3.5 meter rearing house is constructed on an elevated place under shade to accommodate 100 disease-free layings. So this is the rearing of the silkworm. So space of 1 meter should be provided surrounding the rearing house, and sufficient windows and ventilators should be provided for free circulation of air inside the rearing house. So rearing house should be properly ventilated, and the windows and ventilators should be covered with nylon net to restrict the entry of the flies and the other insects. So the rearing house should be covered with nylon net. And apart from the specified area of the rearing house, the following appliances such as hygrometer, power sprayer, rearing stand, foam pads, wax coated paraffin papers, nylon nets, baskets for keeping leaves of the mulberry, then gunny bags, rotary or the bamboo mountages and dryers. These things are also needed for effective rearing of the silkworm. So a proper rearing house has to be built for the proper harvesting of the silk. Then the steps involved in the rearing process of silkworm are disinfection of the rearing house, then incubation of the eggs, then brushing, then young larval rearing, and the late age larval rearing. So the selected healthy silk moths are allowed to mate for 4 hours and then under controlled conditions, and then female moth is then kept in the dark plastic bed and it lays about 400 eggs in 24 hours. Then the female is taken out, crushed and examined for any disease, and then only certified disease-free eggs are reared for industrial use, and the eggs are incubated in the incubator for the sericulture technique. And the small larvae are the caterpillars. They hatch between 7 to 10 days. Then these larvae are kept in trays inside a rearing house at a temperature of about 20 degree to 25 degrees centigrade. These are first fed on chopped mulberry leaves, and after 4 to 5 days fresh leaves are provided, and as the larvae grow they are transferred to fresh leaves on clean trays, and then they are fully grown, they spin cocoons, they secrete silk around their bodies, and their maturity is achieved in 45 days. And at this stage the salivary gland or the silk gland, it starts secreting silk to spin the cocoon. So this is the process of producing silk in the sericulture technique. Then comes the third point, that is the post cocoon processing. And in post cocoon processing, reeling and spinning is done, and the method of obtaining silk thread from the cocoon, it is known as post cocoon processing. And in this there are 2 points, stifling and reeling. And the process of killing the cocoon, it is known as stifling, and the process of removing the threads from the killed cocoon, it is called as the reeling. So for a reeling silk, the cocoons are gathered about 8 to 10 days after spinning had begun, and then cocoons are first treated with steam or dry heat to kill the insect inside, and this is necessary to prevent the destruction of the continuous fiber by the emergence of the moth, because if moth will come on its own, then the thread will break, and the cocoons are then soaked in hot water about 95 to 97 degrees centigrade for 10 to 15 minutes to soften the gum that binds the silk threads together, and then this process is called as cooking. And then cooked cocoons are kept in hot water, and the loose ends of the thread, they are caught by hand, and the threads from several cocoons, they are wound together and on a spinning wheels, that is a charkhas, to form the reels of raw silk, and only about 1/2 of the silk of each cocoon is reelable, and the remainder is used as a silk waste, and it forms the spun silk. So from the waste silk, spun silk is formed, and the raw silk thus obtained through reeling, it is processed through several treatments to bring about the luster on the thread. So it is processed, so the reeled or the raw silk is processed through various treatments to get the luster on the silk. Then so there are the uses of the silk. So it is about the sericulture technique. Then what are the uses of the silk? So silk fibers, they are utilized in preparing silk clothes. Silk fibers are now combined with other natural or synthetic fibers to form the cloth material, and to manufacture clothes like terry silk, cot silk, etc. Silk is dyed to different colors and printed to prepare the ornamented fabrics, and they are generally made from airy silk or the spun silk. and silk is used in industries, and it is also used for military purposes. It is used in the manufacture of fishing fibers, parachutes, cartridge bags, insulation coils for telephone, wireless receivers, then tires of racing cars, then filter fibers in medical dressings and as suture material in medical field. So these are the uses of the silk. Then diseases and pests of silk. So the profitable silk industry is threatened not only by the diseases caused by the virus, fungal, bacterial or protozoan infections, but also by the insect predators, birds and other higher animals. So the silkworm gets infection not only from the virus, fungi, bacteria or protozoans, but it is also uh, infected by the insect predators, or it is wasted or damaged by the insect predators, birds and many higher animals. Ants, crows, kites, rats, they feed upon the silkworms, and so thereby they cause a great loss to the silk industry. And pebrine, it is a dangerous disease in silkworm, and the causative agent of this disease in silkworm, this is the Nosema bombycis. This is a protozoan. Then the silkworm disease. This silkworm disease is transmitted through the egg of the mother silkworm and also through the ingestion of the contaminated food. So next disease of the silkworm is the fletchery. It generally occurs in the mature larva and it is caused by bacteria like Streptococcus and Staphylococcus. And Gracilli is the most dominant and serious viral disease, and it is caused by uh, Bombyx mori nuclear polyhedrosis virus. So this is the virus, a baculovirus which belongs to subgroup A of the Baculoviridae. So this is a viral disease of the silkworm. And among the fungal diseases, white muscardine, it is a common disease in silkworms, and this disease is caused by fungus Beauveria bassiana. So these are the some of the diseases of the silkworms, and uh, during sericulture, the silkworms have to be prevented from these diseases and from the pests to get a good harvest of the silk. So nowadays, in addition to the common silk which is dyed afterwards, there is a new technique for producing the colored silk. So new silkworm dye, it produces the colored silk. The silkworm is given such a dye that naturally the colored silk is produced. The Institute of Materials Research and Engineering, that is IMRE, in Singapore, it has developed a way to replace the traditional dyeing process necessary to make the colored silk, and a simple dietary change, that is feeding a diet of mulberries treated with fluorescent dyes. And if the silkworms are given this diet, then the silkworm produces colored silk, and they are able to produce silk in a variety of colors. So this is a new innovation in this institute in Singapore, where naturally colored silk is produced by a simple dietary change, that is feeding a diet of mulberries which is treated with fluorescent dyes. So this is all about the silk and silk producing method, that is the naturally occurring silk, and how the silk is cultivated and how this process is done. So you have to prepare notes of this topic, and in case you find any difficulty, you can discuss it with me. Thank you.